All right. Well, Julian Assange has some strange bedfellows now. We want to give you an update on this story because we think it is basically paramount to everything. This is a case about free speech, free journalism. It means the future of our ability to hold powerful people to account. Now, just a reminder, Julian Assange was the award-winning journalist who founded WikiLeaks. That site published a lot of embarrassing things about the U.S. involvement in foreign wars, and guess what? They didn't like that. So he has been indicted on charges of all kinds of things, the Espionage Act, the list goes on. He is appealing extradition in the UK and in order to go to the United States and face those charges, and he's fighting it. He is Australian, by the way, and the Australian government has been really kind of missing in action to defend him, even though there is a lot of support amongst the Australian people for the government to protect him. That hasn't been a popular thing for Australian to do. But now the mainstream media is standing up for him. Way to catch up, you guys. A group of 5 major media outlets today published an open call to the Biden administration to drop the charges against WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange. We here at Redacted wholeheartedly agree with this. The media outlets are the New York Times, The Guardian, Le Monde, Der Spiegel, and El País. And that's nice, but those outlets were hardly sticking their necks out for him in the past. Here is some of the headlines posted to Twitter today from The Guardian. The treachery of Julian Assange. Julian Assange from zero to hero.
From hero to zero.
Yeah. The World tomorrow. Julian Assange is a youthful idiot. Here's from the New York Times. How Julian Assange is destroying WikiLeaks. Okay, so why now is an interesting question. It's really tough to believe that this is not a self-serving move. So let's make 2, like devil on the right shoulder and, angel on the left shoulder. Okay, on the left shoulder is that they're being altruistic. They are protecting journalistic integrity. Maybe. Okay, let's put that aside.
You mean by these publications coming out and supporting him now?
Yeah,
now
we're talking about why are they doing this? Right. Okay, there is the camp that maybe they're just doing doing the right thing. Okay,
right. Let's
put that on a scale, on it okay, yeah. I don't put a lot of stock on that, but let's leave space for that. So according to their statement, if we're giving them the benefit of the doubt, they say this: the Obama-Biden administration in office during the WikiLeaks publication refrained from indicting Assange, explaining that they would have had to indict journalists from major news outlets too. Their position placed a premium on press freedom, despite its uncomfortable consequences. Under Donald Trump, however, the position changed. The DOJ relied on an old law, the Espionage Act of 1917, designed to prosecute potential spies during World War I, which has never been used to prosecute a publisher or broadcaster. This indictment sets a dangerous precedent and threatens to undermine America's First Amendment and the freedom of press. We agree. Holding governments accountable is part of the core mission of a free press in a democracy. Yes, true. Obtaining and disclosing sensitive information when necessary in the interest is a core part of the daily work of journalists. If that work is criminalized, our public discourse and our democracies are made significantly weaker.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
Noble, right?
Right.
Okay.
If you can't hold powerful people to account, you can't hold empires to account, then they have total control. Right? Government should always fear its people. People should never fear its government, like Thomas Jefferson said. And most governments now in the West, we fear our governments because of their total control. Without journalists, we can't hold them to account.
Right, and that's why those protections were put in place in the first place for journalists.
Right. Yes.
Exactly.
True. Okay, so we've put our defense against them doing the right thing on one side. But let's see if there's any element of self-serving nature in this. Glenn Greenwald explained this when he was writing for The Intercept after the Assange indictment was first reported. So let's roll back the time machine. What did he say? The Obama DOJ, despite launching notoriously aggressive attacks on press freedoms, recognized this critical principle when it came to WikiLeaks. It spent years exploring whether it could criminally charge Assange and WikiLeaks for publishing classified information. It ultimately decided it would not do so and could not do so, consistent with the press freedom guarantee of the First Amendment. After all, the Obama DOJ concluded such a prosecution would pose a severe threat to press freedom because there would be no way to prosecute Assange for publishing classified documents without also prosecuting who? The New York Times, the Washington Post, the Guardian, and others for doing the exact same thing.
Oh.
As the Washington Post put it in 2003 when it explained Obama's decision not to prosecute Assange, justice officials said that they looked hard at Assange but realized that they had what they described as a New York Times problem. A New York Times problem. If the Justice Department indicted Assange, it will also have to prosecute the New York Times and other news organizations and writers who publish classified material, including the Washington Post and Britain's Guardian newspaper. Now that's interesting, those people that were mentioned, because those were the signers of today's treaty in defense of Assange. The Washington Post was not one of them, but the New York Times and the Guardian both were. So interesting, right?
Right. I mean, so, but now they're saying, I'm trying to wrap my head around. So now they're saying that they support this.
They support him being freed, cleared,
right,
acquitted, whatever,
but
right?
Well, the thing is, the reason, of course, is that this means that if any of their journalists want to do deep digging stories on anything like this in the future, or they get access to certain documents, or perhaps they already have access to certain documents that they're just not reporting about.
Well, no, what I'm saying, though, is that if the Assange indictment actually is able to go to trial, they will too.
Yes.
These same outlets will also have to be indicted, will also have to be dragged into this. There's no way.
Do they get a choice? I mean, don't prosecutors have a choice on who they indict?
I don't. Well, again, the Obama Department of Justice did not see how they could leave them out of this. If it became a part of like who published and who didn't, and you had a list, and WikiLeaks was on a long list, and you only chose one, how will they answer for that
right.
when it goes to trial to a judge? So again,
go ahead, David.
I was going to say, even if they were not indicted for some reason, Assange's defense could bring that up, that they did the same thing.
Absolutely.
Right. And through discovery, of course, if this goes to trial, of course, through that whole discovery process, I mean, we're going to know, right? We're going to know a lot more details than we know right now. We may actually get access to a whole bunch of more documents that we never saw before. And at the end of the day, the New York Times and the Guardian were the ones that published the actual stuff.
Yes.
So
is it so noble of them to say we think the charges should be dropped and we should let Assange free, knowing that they also would be hitched to a very muddy wagon and dragged through some pretty rocky territory, right? And so, I have to say, like, when we're weighing both sides, that like doing the right thing between, against being self-serving move, it's really hard to not give more credit to the self-serving move. But that being said, we support this sentiment. We absolutely do think that Julian Assange should not be tormented any longer and should be a free man.
Yeah. Why did it take you so long?
It's amazing how quickly people do the right thing when they're motivated by covering their own ass.
Yeah.
Right.
Like that's.
Yes. Absolutely the case. I just wondering why it took them so long. Maybe now, like there's some sort of legal move that they realize. Okay, now we're like we never thought it would get to this point where he would actually be extradited to the United States, and now that it looks like that's about to happen, maybe we need to step in now.
If you think of the cozy relationship right now between the mainstream media and the Biden administration, they don't want to risk that by having to go to battle, and then. What, right? I don't think, and it's possible that the Biden administration also does not want that. They need the mainstream media to continue to publish what they want about China, about Russia, about anything they want. They're having a really nice
holiday,
like marriage right now.
Yeah.
So, maybe that's why now. I mean, we're getting along so good. Why take each other to trial and risk that?
Thank you so much for subscribing to our channel. We've been banned, we've been blocked, we've been censored. That's why we started our own website to stay connected with you for free.
That's right. So head on over to redacted.inc and make sure you're connected with us. You can sign up again at redacted.inc, not .com.